Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Katri and today I'm here to tell you my April wrap up. Alright guys, so today I'm going to be going over all the books I read in April. I'm so excited to share with you guys. I read a lot of books this month, like the most I read this year, probably the most I will ever read in a month, especially this year because I impressed myself. I blew myself out of the park with this, so let's get on into the books. All right, so I'm gonna start with the first book I read this month, and that is The Road to Rose Bend. This is by Naima Simone. This was on my TBR this month. I picked it randomly, and this was just a random free romance book I got in the mail. Didn't know anything about it going in. So basically this is about, I think her name's Sydney, and she's coming back to Rose Bend? Yes, that's what it's called. Rose Bend 8 years later after having been rejected by her parents and having lost her sister and just being gone for those 8 years. And she's coming back newly divorced and newly pregnant. So that's basically what the story follows in a gist. I will say though, I did not like this book. I think I gave this 0.5 stars or something. I think I give it 0.5 because you can't give 0 stars. But yeah, I wish I had DNF'd this. Like I said, I have a little bit of a hard time DNFing books, guys. I need to get better. I'm getting better. I'm trying. But I wish I'd DNF'd this. So this is not a clean romance. I normally try to stick to clean romance, but I didn't really know much about this. So I didn't realize there were several sex scenes I had to skip over. There was also some language and also just some very disturbing language. The way this author wrote, it was very clear that she was trying to make as much of their interactions like lustful and sexual in the language as possible. And it was disgusting to me. Like it didn't sound like loving. It sounded lustful. So that was very much not something I like. I was skimming a lot of that, honestly. This also, she is newly divorced. So the ex-husband is prominent in the story. So I didn't like that because it was just like oh, well, we're growing apart and I'm not going to talk to him about it. I'm just going to divorce him. And I'm like, so you're upset about this, but you're going to have no communication and just divorce him. Okay. You gotta have communication, guys. Like, if you don't even try, then I'm not... It's hard to give someone the benefit of the doubt when someone doesn't do anything actually, like, wrong, you know, like he wasn't abusive or anything, and they don't even try to communicate or talk about it with them at all. So that was annoying. Very much did not like this book. I don't recommend this book for anybody who watches my channel because I assume that most of you probably also like clean romance, so this is one to steer away from. This will be going in my unhaul pile. So didn't start the month off very well, honestly. All right, the next book that I read this month was The Great Gatsby. This is by F. Scott Fitzgerald. This is a classic novel, and it's pretty short, honestly. I think it's only like 145 pages. Pretty short, not like one of those like crazy hard to read classics either. But this is basically told from the neighbor's perspective of Gatsby, of how he met Gatsby one summer and everything that conspired after. So this was not what I was expecting, honestly. I didn't realize it was going to be told from the neighbor's perspective. I really thought it was going to be from Gatsby's perspective, so that took me a little bit like off guard. And yeah, I found it a little lackluster, honestly. Like I didn't feel like a ton happened that was interesting to me. It wasn't like badly written or anything. I gave it a solid 3 stars, and the ending did, you know, I thought the ending was pretty good. It wrapped it up and kind of made it a little bit more interesting at the end, but like it also wasn't amazing. It was just kind of meh for me. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It was a decent book. 3 stars. So, all right. And the third book I read this month was The Bromance Book Club. This is by Lyssa Kay Adams. I might have been saying her name wrong the whole time, but sorry. I did a book review on this, so if you want to hear all of my in detail thoughts about it, spoiler and spoiler free. The spoiler free is at the beginning, and there is a spoiler warning before it gets to anything spoiler. If you want to hear more pros and cons on it, you can check out that video. But for here, I'm just gonna say this does have some sex scenes in it that I had to skip over. And it does the entire book is about Gavin and Thea, and their marriage is crumbling because Gavin found out that Thea has been faking it in bed the entire marriage. So it kind of revolves around that in general. And it did have some language, some curse language and stuff like that. This was just a 3 stars for me, nothing amazing. I checked it out. I got the curiosity out of me for this, but yeah, if you want to hear more thoughts, check out that video. All right, and then the 4th book is also one that was on my TBR for this month, and that was The Queen of Tearling. This is by Erika Johansen. I knew it wasn't Johnson. So I did not actually finish reading this. I got about 35-40% of the way through, and I DNF'd this one, guys. I stopped it, and I DNF'd it. And I was so happy and so proud of myself because I was like, I've already pushed through one awful book this month. I don't want to do another one. So I DNF'd this one. This is a fantasy series. I did not realize, but this is adult, I believe, especially with some of the content in it. And it's so hard to give like a synopsis of what this is. It's about a princess who is now becoming the queen because it's her 19th birthday. She's being brought in. She's queen of the Tearling or whatever. But this other evil queen who's like in alliance with them. I don't know. It's weird. She wants to kill her. She wants like everything. So it was weird. There was non-comprehensive world building in this though. It was like, I was flabbergasted. It was supposed to be set in the future, but everything seemed very medieval, and it talked about the Americas and Europe and stuff like in the past, but then it was very medieval in all the world setting. It didn't explain any of this. It was just very back and forth, and it confused me a lot. So I didn't like that. The writing wasn't very enticing. It seemed like overly detailed and drawn out, and there was a lot of awfulness in this. There was mention of child rape in general, and sexual assault, murder, and there was sex. Every time it flipped to the queen, she was having sex with the slave. It was ridiculous. I was skipping over so much stuff. I was like just mad at so many things. I'm so glad I stopped this book, but I would definitely suggest not picking this up. Wow, it had a lot of horrible stuff in it, and I felt like the plot was not really going much of anywhere or that interesting either. So DNF'd this one, so I did not count this towards the red books, but I did want to show it to you and let you guys know what I thought of it. So since I DNF'd it, I did not give it a star rating. All right, and then the 4th book that I read this month was Stardust. This is by Neil Gaiman. This was my BFF Book Club of the Month book, and this was interesting. So I rated this 3.5 stars. This is about a boy, Tristan, who promises the love of his life that he will go and like bring back this fallen star for her. And it's about his journey to go get the fallen star and bring it back. So pretty, whimsical concept. And this was a very whimsical book. It was an interesting magic system. It was a little bit more graphic than I thought it was. There was a little bit of gore in this, and violence and stuff, so be aware of that. There was also one sex scene in this in the first chapter, a very short one, little section that I had to skip over, that I was not expecting. So yeah, it was interesting though. Outside of those things, I enjoyed a good bit of it. It was very interesting. I did love the ending because they really wove together things that I didn't think could have been woven together in the main storyline. They wove it together really beautifully. So I really did like that aspect of it. But yeah, it was an interesting, very interesting, a little weird book, but it wasn't horrible. But there are those few content warnings that you should be aware of. So all right, and then the 5th book I read this month was The Cursed Princess Club. This is volume 1. This is a graphic novel that was like a webtoon first and turned into a graphic novel. I also have a full detailed book review on this one if you would like to hear more of my in-detail thoughts, spoiler and spoiler free. So this one was just really cute. I really enjoyed this one. I gave this a 4-star. It doesn't have a whole lot of content warning stuff. I mentioned 2 partial nudity graphics in this, and I do have the pages for that in that book review if you want to skip it. And oh, a couple of like gay jokes about one character. But outside of that, it's pretty clean, pretty nice, and I'm very excited to continue on with this little series. I believe there's 4 volumes, so the 2nd volume is on its way. It's in the mail, and I cannot wait until it gets here. So yeah. All right, and the 6th book that I read this month is The Best of Me by Nicholas Sparks. I also have a book review up for this one. I'll have a link for it somewhere. So if you want to hear more thoughts, head on over there. But this is a like second chance, like high school lovers romance of like in the future, reflecting on the past, seeing if, you know, they can kind of like still be a thing, even though everything they've been through and the different lives they've led. So it was interesting. I didn't love this book, guys, at all. I did not love this book. This is the first Nicholas Sparks that is under 3 stars for me. I put it as a 2.5 star, 2.5. But yeah, normally Nicholas Sparks is like a good average 3 to 4 star for me. This was the first one that I really did not like and would not recommend. So, all right, and then the 7th book of the month, look at how high we're getting up here. This is The Rule Book by Sarah Adams. Guys, this was a new release this month. I was really excited to read this, and it got pretty good stars for me. It got a 4.25 stars. So I do actually have a book review for this, a specialized like book review of all of my thoughts on this, and it's going to be coming out this Friday. So keep a watch out for that if you want to hear more. But yeah, this is a companion novel to Sarah Adams' The Cheat Sheet. And so it follows Derek, one of Nathan's teammates from The Cheat Sheet, and he has to now work with his ex-girlfriend from college. And he doesn't want to, so it kind of starts out as a little enemies to lovers thing. So yeah, it's got a lot of different tropes in it and stuff, and like I said, I'll have a more detailed of this, but I will say that this is the first book of hers, I believe, to have a sex scene in it. Didn't love that, but beware, it's chapter 34. I do appreciate that she did put a little content warning at the beginning of the book, stating that and telling you where the chapter was if you wanted to skip over it. And besides that, there is a little bit of language in here, nothing too overly graphic, but just be wary. So yeah, 4.25 stars for me. I really just adore Sarah Adams' writing. She's starting to become a comfort read for me. I just hope that the sexual content and sex scene is not something that she's starting to put into her books, and that this was kind of just like a one-time thing, and she doesn't continue to do it. So all right, and then the next book that I read was actually an ebook that I got. It was actually an ARC. I got it on NetGalley, so thank you so much to NetGalley and Jenny Proctor for letting me read this book before the release date. And so the release date is past now. I updated on my other things but it is Romancing the Grump by Jenny Proctor. So this is about Nathan, the team Grump, and this is a hockey team, and Summer, the new legal counsel for the team that he didn't expect. And it's a really cute romance, guys. This is a closed door clean romance. It's just got kissing, 2 kind of intense makeout scenes, but again, doesn't go anywhere, doesn't show anything. Now there is a special bonus epilogue chapter that you can get from her, and she does have a warning on that while it doesn't full out show any sex, it does imply more to it in that, and there is another warning, but she has those warnings at the beginning of that epilogue if you want to check it out. So this is a grumpy sunshine trope. It's also a hockey or sports romance, and it's got dual POV in this and fake dating. So these are some really good ones. This was my first time reading Jenny Proctor, and I was pleasantly surprised. I really enjoyed her writing style. The way she wrote these characters, they had just really good chemistry, and that's what we want, you know, like they were so adorable. There were so many things about this book that I just loved. So I definitely recommend that you check this out. I really enjoyed this one, and I will be checking out more of her stuff in the future. All right, and the next book I read was also an ebook sent to me by NetGalley and ARC. This is a children's book. It's called Violin of Hope. It's by Ella Schwartz, I believe. And this actually follows the life of a violin, and it is set in the time of World War II era. It gives a lot of details and backgrounds of that, has some Jewish culture in there, and it was a really sweet story. I don't want to say too much, but it's very short. I felt like it could have been a little bit longer. I know it is a children's story, but I felt like an extra 2 to 4 pages probably would have fleshed out some of the details a little bit better. But I did really enjoy this. It was cute, and I also enjoyed the author's note. at the end of the book because it gave more detail on the actual like World War II story of the violins. And I think there's an organization called Violins of Hope that the book is like based off of. So that was really cool to read and really interesting. The art in this was very beautiful. So thank you so much, NetGalley, for letting me read this arc. I believe this one does not come out until, I want to say, November. I'm not entirely sure. I will leave a link or whatnot info for that down below. But that was a really sweet story that I gave 4 stars to also. All right, and the next book I finished this month was The Pale Horse by Agatha Christie. I felt like picking up a little mystery because we've had some really dreary and rainy days here. And this one was interesting. I thought I was gonna like this one a bit more when I first started reading it, but then it kind of took its time to get to stuff. It did have some witchcraft stuff in it. I didn't prefer that, but then the way it wrapped it up at the end, I enjoyed and understood why it was there more. I believe I gave this one a 3.5 or 3.75, one of those. But I did enjoy it. It did stump me up at the end, which not many of her books, I enjoy her books, but not many of them have stumped me up at the end. So I did enjoy it. It was pretty good, but you know, just a nice little comfort Agatha Christie mystery. So, all right, and then the next book that I finished this month was Hope for This Present Crisis. This is by Michael Youssef. This was my Christian nonfiction book club book of the month. So this is basically, it's pretty self-explanatory to the title, like what is our hope for this present crisis, the crisis that we're living in with our society and stuff, and you know, like the hope being Jesus is our hope. It goes through a lot of like how we are in crisis and like, yeah, it goes into details of different sections, I believe. If I can find a little what's at the beginning. So it's remember the truth, remember the soul, revitalize the family, reestablish the classroom, respect our freedoms, reform our society, and revive the church. And then there's an epilogue, God's 7-step solution. So I didn't agree with everything that Michael Youssef said in this, but it wasn't like theological views of agreement or anything like that. It was more just like personal opinions or whatnot on certain events or certain things that he said in this that I didn't fully agree. It wasn't anything crazy. I agreed with him on most of this. A lot of this stuff is stuff that I already knew about. There were a few interesting stories that I hadn't heard of, and those were really interesting to read about. And I did like his conclusion at the end there. I thought he wrapped it up pretty nicely and put it in some good terms. And I did take a few pictures of things that I wanted to like apply. But it wasn't anything amazing. This might be a little bit more amazing to somebody who hasn't already studied and done some, you know, and has some knowledge about this type of stuff, but it was pretty good. I gave this a 3.75 stars, so a decent nonfiction Christian read. All right, and the 12th and final book that month, that's right, I read 12 books this month. Is that not crazy? I don't know if I've ever read 12 books in a month before. Maybe I have, but I haven't in a really long time if I have, and that's just crazy to me, and I'm so proud of myself. So that last book was Frieren, Beyond Journey's End. This is a manga. I heard Murphy Naper talking about it here on Booktube. She's one of my favorites. We don't read a ton of similar stuff, but I just love the way she talks and the way she converses about books and how passionate she is. And yeah, I just really enjoy watching her a lot, and I do get some good, you know, suggestions kind of out of my reading comfort from her. And this sounded like very D&D-esque and also Lord of the Rings-esque. So I was like, I feel like I need to check this out. So me and my husband actually read this together. We read the first 7 chapters, which is the first volume of this, and it was pretty cute. It was pretty cute. There were some problems that I had with it, but it is like a fantasy whatever. I think me and my husband might have a little manga talk about it. So I'm gonna save some of my thoughts, but it was pretty cute. This is a more, at least this first volume was more slice of life. It does have this nice overarching theme of Frieren, the elf that the story follows. Since time is different to her than other species, and especially humans, of her kind of like learning that and like coming to terms with certain things, and I like so far how she has, like, how they have implemented that in such small ways, and it's been a very, like, slow-paced but very comfort type of read so far. I gave this one 3.5 stars. Again, comfort kind of read. It wasn't anything amazing so far, but I did like it, and I am excited to continue on. So, all right, so these are all the books that I read this month, including 3 more that are popped up, and then the one I DNF'd. So yeah, I did so well this month. I'm so proud of myself. I would love to hear how many books you read this month, even if it's just one. Tell me all about it, please. Did you have any 5-star reads this month? I did not. I'm hoping for next month. I realized I only had one this year, and so I'm like, I want to find another 5-star read. So let me know, what was your favorite book of this month? And yeah, that's all for today, guys. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your week, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.